Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day to take charge of your life. Today we're not talking about mere wishes or fleeting desires. We're talking about the power to make things happen, to achieve what you truly deserve, to push yourself beyond your limits. But in order to do that, we need to have a real conversation about laziness. The first step in overcoming laziness is to recognize it for what it truly is. Laziness is not merely a harmless habit or a temporary lack of motivation. It's an enemy, a silent force that works against you and your goals every single day. It's an insidious presence that slowly chips away at your ambitions, your dreams, and your potential. To fight laziness, you must first understand how it operates and how it manifests in your life. Laziness often masquerades as comfort. It tells you that staying where you are is enough, that there's no need to push yourself or to take that next step. It whispers in your ear, convincing you that later is better than now, that tomorrow will be the perfect time to get started. This is the deceptive nature of laziness. It makes you feel like it's harmless, like it's okay to procrastinate and delay. But every time you give in to that voice, you lose a little bit of your momentum and a little bit of your potential. Laziness thrives on delayed action. It convinces you to wait for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right circumstances. But here's the harsh truth. There will never be a perfect moment. Waiting for ideal conditions is the same as waiting for a storm to pass before you set sail. By the time you act, you'll have missed your chance. Laziness tricks you into thinking that nothing bad will happen if you just put things off. But what you don't realize is that each moment you spend in inaction is a moment that will never come back. Time doesn't wait for anyone, and laziness knows this. It uses this to keep you stuck in a cycle of inaction, making you feel as if it's okay to wait. But in reality, it's simply a delay that makes it harder to get back on track. The comfort zone is another weapon laziness uses to keep you under control. It creates a false sense of safety, telling you that you're fine exactly where you are. It's easy to stay in familiar surroundings, where there's no risk and no need to stretch beyond what you already know. Laziness feeds off of this comfort. It doesn't want you to take risks, to step outside your boundaries, or to challenge yourself. It wants you to stay exactly where you are, unmotivated, stagnant, and complacent. Laziness also targets your self-doubt. It plays on your insecurities and feeds you the narrative that you're not capable of achieving greatness. It tells you that it's too late, that you're too old, too young, too inexperienced, too whatever to pursue your dreams. This seed of doubt grows over time, and before you know it, you start believing the lies laziness tells you. It works tirelessly to convince you that you're not worthy of success, that it's easier to just give up and accept mediocrity. The truth, however, is that you are more than capable. Laziness is the one thing standing between you and the life you deserve. Finally, laziness exploits instant gratification. It distracts you with the allure of short-term pleasures, scrolling through social media, watching TV, indulging in food or entertainment. These things feel good in the moment, but they come at the cost of your long-term growth and progress. Laziness tricks you into thinking that these small pleasures are worth more than your dreams. It distracts you from your goals and keeps you stuck in a cycle of temporary satisfaction, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and regretful in the long run. By recognizing laziness as the enemy, you give yourself the power to fight it. The moment you see it for what it is, you can begin to take action. Understanding that laziness is not something you can just shrug off. It's a force that requires deliberate effort to overcome, sets the stage for you to take control of your life. This awareness allows you to shift your focus away from excuses and distractions and toward the relentless pursuit of your potential. To overcome laziness, you must first understand the extraordinary power and potential that lies within you. It's easy to underestimate yourself, especially when laziness holds you back from taking action. When you're stuck in the grip of procrastination or stuck in your comfort zone, it's hard to see just how much you are capable of achieving. But the truth is, you have untapped potential that, when harnessed, can change the course of your life in ways you never thought possible. Many people never reach their full potential because they don't believe in it. They become comfortable with mediocrity and resign themselves to the belief that they aren't destined for greatness. Laziness plays a critical role in this process. It convinces you that you're fine just as you are, and that striving for more is unnecessary or even out of reach. But to truly understand your potential, you need to see past the self-doubt and excuses that laziness feeds you and recognize the strengths, skills, and qualities that you already possess. One of the greatest obstacles to realizing your potential is the fear of failure. We are often afraid to step outside our comfort zones because we're afraid of not succeeding, of falling short of expectations. Laziness uses this fear to keep you stuck in the status quo. But what you must understand is that failure is not the end. It is a stepping stone on the path to success. Every time you fail, you learn something new, you grow, and you refine your approach. Your potential is not limited by mistakes or setbacks. It's shaped and strengthened by them. When you stop being afraid to fail, you open the door to all the possibilities that your potential holds. Another barrier to understanding your potential is self-limiting beliefs. You may have been conditioned to believe certain things about yourself. Maybe you were told you weren't smart enough, talented enough, or capable enough. These beliefs can create an invisible ceiling that prevents you from reaching higher. Laziness thrives on these limiting beliefs because it convinces you that you can't do it, that you're not worthy of success. But your potential is not defined by past experiences or the opinions of others. It's defined by your willingness to push beyond those mental barriers and believe in what you're capable of. The moment you break free from those limiting beliefs is the moment you start unlocking the doors to your full potential. You must also understand that your potential is not static. It's dynamic and ever-evolving. People tend to think that their potential is fixed, that they've either got it or they don't. But potential is something that can be developed over time. The more you challenge yourself, the more you stretch your abilities, the more you push the boundaries of what you thought was possible, the greater your potential becomes. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you invest in yourself, the more you discover that there is no limit to what you can achieve. Growth is ongoing. And as you rise to new challenges, your potential expands in ways you couldn't have imagined at the start. Passion and purpose are also key components of understanding your potential. When you are connected to something bigger than yourself, something that lights a fire inside you, your potential becomes limitless. Laziness thrives when there is no clear sense of purpose. It feeds on your lack of direction, your inability to see the bigger picture. But when you understand what drives you, when you tap into that inner fire, your potential is unleashed. You no longer procrastinate because you have something that pulls you forward. You're not just going through the motions. You're driven by a vision, a purpose that fuels every action you take. Lastly, discipline and consistency are critical to realizing your potential. While passion and belief are essential, they must be backed by action. You won't unlock your full potential by waiting for the right moment or by hoping things will change on their own. Consistency is what turns potential into results. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward, even when laziness tries to tempt you to quit. When you commit to consistent effort in small, purposeful actions, you'll see your potential unfold before your eyes. Understanding your potential requires you to see beyond the lies laziness tells you. It demands that you rise above the doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs that have held you back for too long. When you truly realize just how capable you are, you can no longer afford to settle for anything less than greatness. Your potential is not something distant or out of reach. It's something that exists right now inside you, waiting to be fully realized. The only question is, will you take the steps necessary to unlock it? When we think about overcoming laziness and achieving great things, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the enormity of the task. We look at the destination, the big goal, and we're paralyzed by the thought of how far we have to go. The pressure to achieve something massive can stop us in our tracks before we even start. But the truth is, success is built on small actions consistent steps, and incremental progress. The power of small actions is often underestimated, yet it's the key to defeating laziness and moving toward any goal you set for yourself. Laziness thrives on the fear of how big the task is, convincing you that because it's too much to handle all at once, it's easier to do nothing at all. But here's the breakthrough moment. You don't have to do it all at once. The first step towards defeating laziness is to break down your big goal into smaller, manageable actions. Instead of thinking, I have to write a book, think, I will write 200 words today. Instead of I need to lose 50 pounds, think I will take a 15-minute walk today. By focusing on small, achievable steps, you shift your attention from the daunting task to manageable chunks. Every time you complete a small action, you make progress, and that progress builds momentum. One of the biggest reasons small actions are so powerful is that they build momentum. Momentum is a force that propels you forward, even when motivation fades. Think about it this way. Imagine you're pushing a heavy boulder. At first, it's hard to get it moving, but once it starts rolling, it gains speed and becomes easier to manage. The same principle applies to your goals. At first, when you begin taking small actions, it might feel slow and difficult, but as you continue, you gain momentum. Each little step you take, no matter how small, adds to that momentum, making it easier to keep moving forward even on days when motivation is low. Small actions also help you to avoid perfectionism, the mindset that keeps you frozen in indecision. Laziness often comes disguised as the desire to do it right or wait for the perfect time. We convince ourselves that we need all the pieces in place before we take any action. But the reality is waiting for the perfect conditions often means waiting forever. Small actions eliminate the need for perfectionism. You don't have to wait for everything to align. Start with what you have and make progress. Perfection is an illusion. Progress is real. By taking small actions, you build confidence, and each action reinforces the belief that you are capable of achieving your goal. Moreover, small actions compound over time. The concept of compounding is often applied to money and investments, but it applies to our actions as well. Just as small financial deposits grow exponentially over time with interest, small daily actions compound to create massive change. You might not see the results immediately, but if you keep taking action, the results will come. A person who writes 200 words a day will have a completed manuscript in a matter of months. Someone who consistently walks 15 minutes a day will see significant health improvements over time. What seems insignificant in the moment adds up to something remarkable when done repeatedly. In addition, taking small actions helps to build discipline and consistency. Discipline isn't about achieving perfection or getting everything right all at once. It's about showing up day in and day out. When you commit to doing something small, even on days when you don't feel like it, you train yourself to take action despite emotions or setbacks. Over time, this builds the habit of consistency, and that consistency is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's the small, consistent actions that create long-term success, not the big, sporadic bursts of effort that happen only when motivation strikes. Finally, small actions make it easier to stay accountable to yourself. The feeling of accomplishment that comes from completing even the smallest task can be incredibly motivating. When you take action, any action, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Each small win boosts your confidence and pushes you to take the next step. And when you see that progress, even in tiny increments, it becomes easier to keep going. Laziness thrives when we feel stagnant, but when we take small steps and see the results, even if they're tiny, we feel energized to continue. The power of small actions lies in their ability to consistently push you forward without overwhelming you. Instead of focusing on everything you need to do, focus on the one small thing you can do right now. When you stack those small actions on top of each other, you'll find that you've accomplished more than you ever thought possible. It's not about grand gestures, it's about consistent, deliberate action. Every little step counts. One of the biggest traps people fall into when it comes to overcoming laziness is the idea that they need to wait for motivation to strike. It's a common belief that in order to take action, you must first feel inspired or driven. People often think that if they wait long enough, the perfect moment will come when they feel fully energized, ready, and motivated to tackle their goals. But this mindset keeps you stuck in a cycle of procrastination, constantly waiting for motivation that may never come. The reality is motivation is unreliable. It's an emotion, and like all emotions, it fluctuates. There are days when you wake up feeling energized, enthusiastic, and ready to take on the world. And then there are days when you feel drained, uninspired, and completely unmotivated. If you only act when you feel motivated, you'll quickly find that most of your time is spent waiting for a spark of inspiration that never arrived. The key to breaking free from this cycle is to stop waiting for motivation and start acting anyway. Action is the catalyst that creates motivation, not the other way around. The most successful people don't wait for the perfect mood to start working. They take action first, even when they don't feel like it. And here's the paradox. The more you act, the more motivated you become. Action breeds momentum, and momentum breeds motivation. The more you push through the resistance and take even the smallest step toward your goal, the more energy and motivation you'll start to feel. It's a cycle that builds on itself. You take action, which leads to motivation, which drives you to take more action. Think of it this way. When you sit still and wait for motivation, you're giving laziness the power. Laziness thrives on inaction. It convinces you that there's always tomorrow, that you need to feel ready before you do anything. But when you take action, you disrupt that cycle. You stop giving laziness control over your life. You take the first step, and from that first step, momentum begins to build, even if you don't feel like it. That first action moves you forward, and that movement awakens something inside you that makes the next step easier. Another critical point is that waiting for motivation often leads to perfectionism. If you wait for the right moment or the perfect mood, you may never get started. People who wait for motivation often end up caught in the trap of trying to do everything perfectly, which ultimately leads to inaction. They tell themselves, I'll wait until I feel more inspired, or I'll start when the circumstances are just right. But by the time that moment arrives, they've missed countless opportunities. Motivation, when it comes, is fleeting, and if you rely solely on it, you'll always be playing catch-up. Furthermore, waiting for motivation is a form of procrastination. It feels like you're doing something productive by waiting for the right moment or waiting to feel more motivated, but in reality, you're stalling. Procrastination disguises itself as preparation or as needing to wait for the right time. But the truth is, there is no right time except the present. If you continue waiting for motivation, you're just prolonging your progress and keeping yourself stuck in a cycle of delayed action. The key to success is to make decisions based on discipline, not inspiration. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward, even on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Discipline is about committing to your goals, no matter how you feel in the moment. It's about showing up and doing the work even when you don't feel like it, and trusting that the act of doing will eventually lead to the motivation you're seeking. Think about the small tasks you do on a daily basis. You don't wait for motivation to brush your teeth, take a shower, or eat dinner. These are things you do because they are part of your routine, regardless of how you feel. Achieving your goals works in the same way. You don't wait for the perfect moment to write that report or take that first step toward your goal. You simply commit to taking action, and through that action, motivation will follow. In fact, the more you stop waiting for motivation, the more you build self-confidence. Every time you take a step without waiting for motivation, you prove to yourself that you have the power to overcome resistance. You build a habit of action, and over time, that habit becomes stronger than the impulse to procrastinate. This is how you develop the resilience and determination that will push you through the toughest times. The truth is simple. Motivation is not the prerequisite for success. Action is. When you take action first, motivation will follow. The most successful individuals didn't wait for motivation to strike. They created their own momentum through consistent, deliberate action. Inaction might seem harmless at first glance. It often appears as a temporary choice, a momentary pause to rest or reconsider. But what many fail to realize is that inaction over time becomes a silent force working against you. It slowly erodes your potential, drains your energy, and keeps you stuck in a cycle of missed opportunities. The consequences of inaction are often much greater than they first appear, and the longer you delay taking action, the more damaging the effects can be. The first and most obvious consequence of inaction is missed opportunities. Every moment that you delay action is a moment that slips away, never to be regained. In the fast-paced world we live in, opportunities don't wait for anyone. If you hesitate, someone else will seize the chance that you let pass by. Whether it's in your career, personal growth, or relationships, failure to act means you are forfeiting the potential for success. Think about how many times you've regretted not taking a risk or making a decision because you waited too long. By procrastinating, you're letting precious chances slip away, leaving you with nothing but what could have been. Inaction also leads to stagnation. While you may think that doing nothing is a neutral choice, in reality it keeps you stuck. Life doesn't stay still. The world keeps moving forward, and by choosing inaction, you're not just staying where you are, you're falling behind. Over time, you find yourself losing touch with your goals and dreams. Opportunities that once seemed within reach now feel increasingly distant. The longer you remain inactive, the harder it becomes to catch up to where you could have been. Stagnation breeds frustration, discontent, and self-doubt. You start to question your abilities and your worth, wondering why you haven't made progress, all while the world around you continues to evolve. Moreover, inaction breeds regret. The longer you delay, the more you'll wonder about the what-ifs. What if you had started that business years ago? What if you had invested in learning a new skill when you had the chance? Regret is one of the most painful emotions we can experience, and it grows from inaction. The regret of not pursuing a dream, of not taking action, can follow you for years and even shape your future decisions. It's a constant reminder of what could have been, and often it's a feeling that doesn't go away until you take action. Inaction also has a significant impact on self-esteem and confidence. When you fail to take action, you subconsciously reinforce the idea that you're incapable of succeeding. This self-doubt can spiral, convincing you that you're not good enough, not worthy enough, or that the effort isn't worth it. Each moment of inaction chips away at your belief in your own potential. The more you avoid taking steps toward your goals, the more you convince yourself that you can't do it. This erodes your confidence, making it even harder to take the first step in the future. Another consequence of inaction is that it can lead to a loss of control. Every time you delay taking action, you relinquish control over your own future. The more you wait for the right moment or for external circumstances to change, the more you allow your life to be dictated by factors outside of your control. Inaction keeps you reactive instead of proactive, waiting for someone or something else to dictate the direction of your life. When you act, you take control. You make decisions, you shape your path, and you create your own opportunities. Without action, however, you leave your future to chance. Inaction can also cause increased stress and anxiety. It may seem counterintuitive, but doing nothing can actually create more mental strain than taking action. When you avoid making decisions or taking steps toward your goals, your mind remains cluttered with worries, fears, and doubts. You think about what needs to be done but push it away, only to have it weigh on you day after day. This mental burden grows heavier as time passes, leading to a sense of helplessness and anxiety. The act of doing something, even if it's small, can alleviate this pressure and bring clarity to your mind. By taking action, you start to break free from the mental gridlock that inaction creates. In the end, inaction feeds laziness, and the cycle becomes harder to break the longer you stay stuck. Laziness may seem like the easier path in the moment, but it creates a ripple effect of negative consequences that compound over time. The more you avoid action, the more habitual it becomes, making it harder to find the motivation to start again. Inaction reinforces the belief that it's easier to stay where you are than to move forward. Over time, you lose the ability to take initiative, and your comfort zone expands to the point where even the smallest action feels overwhelming. When it comes to overcoming laziness and achieving your goals, there is no more powerful tool than self-discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to push yourself to take action even when you don't feel like it, and to stay consistent in your efforts over the long term. It's the quiet force that separates the dreamers from the doers, the ones who talk about their goals from those who actually achieve them. Without self-discipline, even the most talented and intelligent individuals can fall short of their potential. At its core, self-discipline is about taking control of your actions. It's the ability to prioritize your long-term goals over short-term pleasures, the willingness to delay gratification in favor of something bigger and more meaningful. Laziness feeds on instant gratification, the urge to relax, procrastinate, and indulge in distractions rather than focusing on what's important. Self-discipline, on the other hand, is the antidote to this cycle. It trains you to resist the temptation to give in to laziness, to push past the urge to procrastinate, and to stay focused on the bigger picture. One of the most important aspects of self-discipline is consistency. It's easy to be motivated when you feel inspired or energized, but motivation can be fleeting. It comes and goes in waves. Self-discipline is what keeps you going when motivation fades. It's the commitment to continue working towards your goals every single day, even on the days when you don't feel like it, when things are tough, or when it seems easy to give up. Self-discipline is built on the small, consistent actions you take day in and day out that add up over time. It's about doing the work not because you feel motivated, but because you have made a decision to do it. Another powerful component of self-discipline is accountability, especially when it comes to holding yourself accountable. It's easy to blame external factors or circumstances for why things aren't going well, but self-discipline forces you to take responsibility for your actions. When you make a decision to act, you own it. You don't wait for someone to push you or check on your progress. You are your own motivator. This inner accountability strengthens your commitment and ensures that you follow through, no matter the challenges or distractions that come your way. Self-discipline also teaches you how to handle discomfort. In the face of laziness, it's easy to give in to the feelings of resistance or discomfort. Whether it's the desire to rest, avoid challenges, or procrastinate, these feelings often lead you to abandon your goals. But self-discipline teaches you to embrace discomfort and see it as part of the process. It's about understanding that discomfort is temporary and that growth happens when you push through it. Instead of avoiding challenges, self-discipline encourages you to lean into them, knowing that each challenge you overcome makes you stronger and more capable. The more you practice self-discipline, the more it shapes your mindset. Discipline is not just about taking action. It's about training your mind to stay focused, to stay positive, and to persist in the face of adversity. Self-discipline helps you build mental toughness, the ability to stay committed even when things get tough. With this kind of mindset, you become unstoppable. The more you practice discipline in small, everyday tasks, the more it becomes a part of your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who struggles with procrastination or laziness, but rather as someone who follows through, who stays committed, and who rises to the occasion. Self-discipline also involves creating routines and habits that align with your goals. The more structured your day is, the less room there is for distractions and procrastination. It's easy to fall into the trap of disorganization and randomness, but when you build routines that support your goals, you remove the need for constant decision-making. Habits, once established, become automatic. When you don't have to think about every task, you can focus your energy on execution instead of willpower. This structure minimizes the likelihood of giving in to laziness because your actions are predetermined, not dependent on how you feel in the moment. Lastly, self-discipline is the key to building momentum. When you take consistent action, even small steps, you begin to see progress. That progress fuels your motivation and reinforces your commitment. The more momentum you build, the easier it becomes to continue. Self-discipline helps you start the cycle of action and progress. You're no longer waiting for motivation to strike. You're actively creating it. Self-discipline is not something you are born with. It's something you build over time. Every small act of discipline compounds and strengthens your ability to take control of your actions. It's the weapon you wield against laziness, procrastination, and self-doubt. It's the force that moves you forward even when everything around you seems to be holding you back. The more you commit to cultivating self-discipline, the more unstoppable you become, and the more you unlock your potential.